I'm a medical scientist who was involved in a failed experiment of which you are all experiencing the consequences. I'm sorry, but you have to know. Part 2. The trial began with a small single dose of the protein-suppressing drug injected once per day. The effects were disappointing. While the drug did somewhat inhibit the creation of the requisite protein, this did not lead to any tooth growth, and it did not replicate the results Dr. Ochimori had achieved with mice, in which even minor protein suppression had led to minor tooth growth. Dr. Ochimori and Dr. Khan therefore decided to increase the dosage, and, when that did not create the desired result, also the frequency. It was when Kenji started receiving 4 relatively high-dose drug injections per day that something finally happened. The first new teeth formed, and they began to penetrate his gums, but this came with a cost. The pain which Kenji endured both during the formation and eruption phases of the dental regeneration was much more intense than any of us had anticipated. In mice, the tooth growth had been generally painless, no different than when their old teeth had grown naturally. What Kenji experienced was magnitudes more painful than what he had experienced when his adult teeth had grown in, and we could not explain why. At this point, with Kenji screaming for hours in the observation room, Dr. Khan suggested stopping the trial. Dr. Ochimori disagreed. When we held a vote, all 3 Japanese members of the team voted to continue the trial, so that Dr. Khan and I were outnumbered 3-2. What was most interesting, however, was that Kenji himself did not want to stop the trial. Despite his pain, which to me seemed unbearable, I could not listen to his screams, let alone imagine the suffering which caused them. He maintained that he wanted to continue. Thus we continued. Within 3 days of the implementation of the more intensive drug injection schedule, all of Kenji's missing teeth had grown in. This was, from a purely medical standpoint, utterly remarkable, but it rendered the trial a success only if you discounted Kenji's pain. It was not feasible, Dr. Khan argued, to report such results because one could not market a drug that caused unexplainable suffering. Dr. Ochimori disagreed, arguing that the cause of the suffering, which he deemed a side effect, need not be understood for the results to be worthwhile. He pointed out that many drugs have side effects we know about without understanding the exact biochemical mechanisms behind them. As long as the existence of the pain is not hidden, he argued, the results are beneficial, and anyone who agrees to further testing, or potentially to the resulting treatment itself, does so fully informed and of his own free will. Dr. Khan cited ethics concerns. Dr. Ochimori accused him of medical paternalism. It was in the hours during which these oft-heated discussions took place that we missed a troubling development. While it was true that in 3 days Kenji's missing teeth had all been regenerated and were functionally indistinguishable from his old teeth, this indistinguishability was temporary. For, while regular adult teeth grow to a certain size and stop, the regenerated teeth had not stopped growing. They were the same size as Kenji's old teeth, only for a brief period. Then they outgrew them, first by a small amount but steadily by more and more, until they were twice, then 3 times, 4 times, 5, their size. They were more like tusks than teeth, fang-shaped columns of dental matter erupting endlessly from his profusely bleeding gums, until even closing his mouth had become for Kenji impossible, and the strain this placed on his jaws bordered on the extreme. We had already cut the drug injections, of course. Please subscribe for part 3.